Hello, everyone. I hope all of you are doing great. This is JDBC demo. You can clone this project from my GitHub repo. It's available, and I will add a link to it to clone it. Remember that you can clone it from him, then say git, and then clone, and then you can clone this project. The first thing that we need to do here, remember, I'm going to talk like in part 2 or part 3, you will see that everything in details. But right now, I just want to fix this and connect it to the database. To connect my project to database, first of all, I need to create a database. I go to services here, and like you will choose the first one and right click and say create database. Now, the database that I want to use called NotesDB, and say OK. And here we go. Now we got a connection string, and this connection string contains the database that I need. Now, if I just open here to tables, I will see that I have no tables because we have just created the nodes database. I need to have a script. That script will make tables for me. Now, to do this, you just go to project. Now, in the project, go to source packages. Here we have a package called database. If we open this, you will have everything that we need here. What we are doing, we are say, okay, drop this data, like this database, if it exists. Like if it exists, drop it or remove it, and then create it from scratch again. After we create that, we're going to create two tables, one table called user and one table called note. Now for table called user, we're going to have this. We have an email, we have active, which is the status if it's active or inactive. Then we have first name, last name, password, and the primary key for this is email. Now we have another table. We have a note ID, title, content, owner, and then we have a primary key as a note ID, like for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And we have a foreign key. And remember that we discussed the foreign key on the maybe week 2 or something. I think we still have the slides for that. Foreign key is just like I'm making a relationship between a user and a node. And here the relationship is one to many. Like one user could have one or more nodes. And here we are saying that, as you can see, it's referenced back to the user email. Email here. It's here as well. Okay, and then what we are doing here, we are creating two users. This is insert data to the user. And by the way, in this course, you don't need to write any SQL, like creating table or something like that. You will always have this for the lab, for this demo, and for the project. You will always have this script. You just need to create this package and add your data to, or you add this script to here. Now, how to run this script? Just right click and say run file. And then they're going to ask you, is this the database that you need to run? And say yes, this one, and say okay. Now, if we go back to the services, you will see that now I have two tables, one called note. I can right click, say view data. And here are the notes. I have note number 1, note number 2, and note number 3. And remember that these are linked with a foreign key, which is the email. And these are the foreign key from the user table. Now let's go to the user table, and this is the user table, which is email. This is the status if it's active or inactive. And this is like similar to MySQL Workbench. You can write a query here and you can execute it. For example, you can change the data. For example, you can say, okay, code, just say code. Now, after that, you can just say commit records, like just to save your data. And now we have changed the data. Like you can change anything that you need, something like that, and then say save and then commit the change, and here we go. Now we save that. Now if you need to remove everything and go back from scratch, just go back to the database here, choose this one and say delete. And after you delete everything, you just go to again to this project, to this script, and say here run file. Okay, they're gonna ask you, okay, do you want to create a connector? Don't do that. Go and repeat the step from the first one, which is close it. Okay, close this. Go to services, and then here right click, create database, and say notes DB. Now after that, Go back here, say run this, and here say okay. Now we have created that. Go to services, and here go node database tables, and here we go. We got the data back, and the same as what we have here. Yeah, code 1 and code 2 and the third node. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is how to fix this red line that we have, like JDBC demo. It's written in red, not in black. Now, if you want to fix this, by the way, it doesn't affect your code, but if you want to fix this, just go here and say right-click and say resolve data source problem. And before you resolve that, I just want to show you something like how do they gonna do this? Just go here to services. And as you can see now, I have a connection string, this one. Okay, now if I resolve the problem, we will have two connection string, but that doesn't matter for us right now. Connection string is like a link to connect to the database. Now let's go to result data and say this one, yes, I add connection. And they're gonna say, okay, like you can test your connection. And yep, connection succeeded, no problem, say next. And say next, say finish, close. And here we go. Now, if you go to services, first of all, as you can see, we don't have the red and the yellow thing there anymore. Now let's go to services. We now have two connection string. As I said, it doesn't matter for us. Both of them are fine. We can use any one of them, like this one have the same content as this one, just to fix this problem. If you don't want to fix it, just don't use it. And remember that if you want to use JDBC, you need to add the connector. How to do that? Just go add library. But for this project, you will have it. But for the lab, for example, if you want to use it, just say JDBC, and then you will have it here. This one, JDBC driver, and you can add it, and you will have it here. Okay, now the last thing that I want to talk about is Workbench. However, in this course, we are not going to use Workbench. But in case if you want to use Workbench, you can have access to this here. I think, yeah, Workbench. Okay, is this one that I have? Okay, no problem. Let's go here. And let me just, okay, as you can see right now, if I look on the left side, I don't have any access to any database, for example. If you want to have your database here, what you can do is just refresh the page here. Okay, and after that, you will see here I have no database. Okay, and you can say, and here you can have an access to the database. For example, here I have no database. I have, and if you want to use this, like you can say use then nodes DB, just to make this as the one that we are going to use. Just run it. And now we are using this node database. And remember that we have a node and we have a user. These are like the same thing that what we are doing here on the service. Like if you want to use this, or you can use this. These are the tables here. Okay. Now the only thing that you might need to use is go to database, then go to reverse engineering, and then say next. Here you need to give the password, which is password. Okay, and then go next. Then choose the database. I'm gonna choose NotesDB. Say next, next, execute, next, finish. Now, if you look here, you will find your tables all here. Like if you just do down, 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 here we go. You're gonna visualize this for you. For example, here I have a user and I have a node, and you can see the relationship between them as a one-to-many. If you want to visualize it, and by the way, like you can just double click and start editing, for example, the value or something like that. However, to be honest, for me, like if you want to visualize it, yes, you can. But again, as I said in this course, you have like you don't need to worry about this. But this is just to know that yes, we can use one to like. By the way, like you can find this here, like one-to-many relationships are here. And yeah, that's very much for the first part, which is just how to connect your project that has a SQL with a services database here. And then the next part, we will go over the code more in details. See ya.